So as those of you who follow my videos will know, I spent just over a month actually in India, and that trip ended when I got very sick. And I have another video where I talk more about what happened, but long story short, it was one of the worst travel experiences I've ever had. I caught swine flu. But you know, there's a bright side to that experience as well. And that's what I want to talk about today. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a new website, check out squarespace.com/thenewtravel. I read a quote the other day that I can't stop thinking about. Travel isn't always pretty. It isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it hurts. It even breaks your heart. But that's okay. The journey changes you. It should change you. It leaves marks on your memory, on your consciousness, on your heart, and on your body. You take something with you. Hopefully you leave something good behind. That's a quote by Anthony Bourdain. One of the reasons that Anthony Bourdain is remembered so fondly by so many people is for little insights like that. You know, he really shared the message that travel is not just about seeing beautiful places and sharing them on Instagram. It's about the adventure. It's about the journey. It's about the experience that stays with you, like, you know, scars on your arms. You know how in the moment when something really bad is happening, it really sucks. Like, it's really hard to be positive in the moment when you're sick and there's no air conditioning and you're in a little hotel room in India. It sucks. But when you look back on it, you know, maybe a few months later or a few years later, sooner or later, you're going to be able to laugh. Like, eventually, you're going to be able to look back and laugh and say, what a crazy experience that was.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
And funny enough, you might remember those bad experiences even more than the good experiences. They're the stories you have to tell. They're the moments that you never forget. And isn't that why we travel? To have these moments, to have these experiences, to be changed by them? And listen, I'm not telling you, like, go out and get swine flu. Like, that is definitely not the message behind this video. It sucks. But what I am saying is that try to keep in mind the long perspective and try to find ways to turn the negatives into something positive, because they will always exist. There will always be those moments. You know, as a travel YouTuber, I don't just make videos. I watch a lot of other YouTubers as well. You know, I'm a fan of a lot of the content that's out there. But one trend that I've seen more and more of is sort of fake positivity. And I've probably been guilty of this sometimes myself. You know, it's like you're showing off interesting places, and even if you're having a bad day, you want to pretend everything's awesome because, well, there's viewers at home who are excited to see your video and you want to share positivity. But when you're sharing nothing but positivity, you can provide a fake perspective. You can provide the perspective that travel is nothing but like epic moments and, you know, awesome train rides, and the train is never late, and, you know, the taxi driver is always nice, and the hotel's always clean, and they never mess up your reservation, and you never get sick and then think you're gonna die when you're in the middle of the desert in India. But those moments do happen. They happen to me, they happen to my girlfriend, they happen to every traveler I know. Eventually, you're gonna have some really bad experiences. The question is, how are you gonna react in those moments? So when I'm traveling in a place like India, you know, it's a culture that's very different than my own. The food is different, the air is different, the people are different, the culture is different. I'm gonna make mistakes, things are gonna go wrong. It's part of travel. But that's okay. It's not supposed to be easy. We didn't travel to the other side of the world for it to be easy. And in the long run, you might actually find a way to turn those negatives into a positive. I'm gonna share something that I've never shared in a video before, and it's actually something that I'm uncomfortable to share. It's not something I'm proud of, but for a few years I've been a smoker. I've smoked cigarettes. Yeah, I know that's like, especially these days, it's definitely not cool to be a smoker, and it's not something I have ever mentioned in a video before. But as I mentioned, I got really sick. And after I was done in India, I flew to South Korea and stayed with my girlfriend and her family. And my girlfriend's mom was like really worried about me, and she had good reason to be. I was like very sick. So she got all these tests done, and I got like an ultrasound to make sure my chest was doing okay. And when I did that, the Korean doctor, he said to me like, "You smoke, right?" And I said, yeah. And he says, "Yeah, you should stop." And I said, "Okay." And I thought about it, and I decided, yeah, I'm not just saying, okay, I'm actually going to do it, because there are moments in our lives when really bad things happen. And they can stay in our lives as really bad moments, or we can try to change them into something else. And what I did in that moment is I took this terrible experience in India, this terrible sickness, and I turned it into something else. I turned it into the day I quit smoking, because... And listen, I was never a heavy smoker. I'd smoke like a few a day. I wasn't like smoking a pack a day or whatever, but I just realized like, if I don't take this life moment where I just got really sick and I just had a doctor tell me I should stop, if this isn't the moment I stop, I'll probably never stop. That was March. This is now April, May, June, almost July. So yeah, it's been like probably like about 100 days since then, and I don't even think about cigarettes anymore. Like, it's completely out of my life. So I share that story. Again, it's not something I'm like proud to share. It's just my reality, and it's something that came from a terrible travel moment. And let's be real for a second. India has a lot of social issues. There's a lot of poverty. A lot of extreme poverty for people coming from countries like Canada. Like, you see stuff that you've never seen before. You see a lot of children who are begging. You see some things that really stay with you. And maybe those moments help you reflect on people who aren't doing so well, and think, maybe it's not their fault. Maybe they were just born in a situation where they had nothing, and that's the only reality they could live. It just opens your eyes to things that you might have never considered, because in your own country that's just how things are done. That's just the reality. But then when you go to a reality that's completely different, like India, and I keep mentioning India because it's such an extreme example, but it's true about any place you go that is significantly different than your own culture. And it's not about rich versus poor. That's not the only dynamic that's at play here. I think for an Indian to go to America, they would have similar experiences. They would notice things that are very different than the way they do things back home. And some will be good and some will be bad. But I don't believe one is better than the other. It's just the moments that you experience when you travel, So why am I sharing all this? What's the point? Well, the last video I talked about leaving India, it left on a rather sad note. But it's been another month or two since then, and I've had more time to think about it, and I don't feel sad anymore about what happened. And I will go back to India. I feel like I have to go back to India. I feel like I have unfinished business in India. And I think it's the reason that so many foreigners keep going back. It's not easy, but it's not supposed to be. Nothing truly worthwhile in life is easy. I mean, think about it. What Anthony Bourdain spoke about in that quote has a truth that I don't see a lot of travel YouTubers talking about. And that truth is that travel's not always going to be easy. And it's not supposed to be easy. It's the journey that matters. And those scars we get, those sicknesses, those negative experiences are a chance to learn and to grow, and maybe to change who we are. If you guys have a similar story about a way that travel's changed you, I'd love to hear it. And also, I just want to say thank you guys for sticking with me on this channel. I mean, there's almost 100,000 of us now, which is just crazy. And I'm just a guy who loves sharing travel stories and travel moments, and I'm really grateful to have all you guys here with me on this adventure. So thanks. I'd also like to thank Squarespace for being the sponsor of today's video. I use Squarespace for danweinberg.com, and one thing I really like about it is how easy it was to get set up. I was moving my website from like a different web hosting platform to Squarespace, and the whole process was easy, simple, and just what I needed it to be. So yeah, head on over to squarespace.com/thenewtravel if you want to try it for free.